The page exists. A birth register, thick with ink and silence. One woman's name appears again and again, dozens of times. Children listed beneath her, ages, dates, and where fathers should be recorded, there is nothing. Not crossed out, not erased, just left blank. For those willing to face what history tried to bury, this is where the record breaks open. Before we begin this story, if you're drawn to the dark stories that history tried to erase, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the stories we uncover every day. And let us know in the comments which state you're watching from. We love seeing how far these forgotten stories are reaching. The county lies along a wide, slow river, its banks lined with fields that never rest. The land is measured carefully here, parceled and taxed, its value rising with every harvest. Ownership is everything, not just of soil and buildings, but of people and of the paper that defines them. The courthouse stands at the center of town, stone steps worn smooth by boots and time. Inside, the air smells of dust and sealing wax. Ledgers sit in locked cabinets, their spines cracked, pages swollen with years of damp summers. These books decide what is remembered and what is allowed to vanish. Enslaved people appear in these records as numbers, as assets, as inheritances. Names are optional. Lineage is inconvenient. Mothers are listed when necessary. Fathers rarely are, unless it benefits someone with standing. This is a place where silence is not an absence, it is a tool. Her name is Margaret. She is listed simply as female, age unknown, when she first appears in the estate inventory. Later, she earns a first name, then a last initial that shifts depending on who owns her. She is small, steady, known for her endurance. She works the house and the yard, sometimes the fields when labor runs thin. She keeps her eyes down and her voice low. Over the years, Margaret gives birth again and again, children taken from her arms almost as soon as they can walk. Some sold south, some kept nearby, some disappear from the books entirely. Margaret learns to read people the way others read weather, who lingers too long, who avoids eye contact, who pretends not to notice. Watching her, always, is Judge Elias Hardwick. He is not the youngest man in the county, but he is ambitious. His robes hang carefully, his hair always combed back, his boots polished even when the roads are mud. He prides himself on order, on clean records, on the appearance of moral restraint. Privately, Hardwick fears disorder more than injustice. Disorder invites questions. Questions invite attention. Attention threatens reputations, especially his own. Between them stands a clerk, Samuel Price, thin-fingered and quiet. He copies what he is told to copy. He notices everything and speaks rarely. The disruption comes quietly. A visiting tax assessor requests clarification on population counts tied to land valuation. Birth records are pulled, death records reviewed, transfers noted. When Margaret's page is opened, the room goes still. The tally is impossible to ignore. One woman, dozens of children, no fathers listed, not one. The assessor asks, almost casually, if the omissions are errors. Judge Hardwick answers too quickly. He says the records are complete, but Samuel Price sees the judge's hand tighten on the ledger's edge. He sees the way Hardwick avoids the page, as if it might accuse him aloud. That evening, a seal is broken, a cabinet reopened after hours. Ink is added where none existed before. Not names, but dates shifted, margins narrowed, space reduced. Someone is trying to make the page harder to read. Margaret is summoned to the courthouse under the pretense of routine questioning. She is made to stand, hatless, before a desk heavy with papers. She is asked to confirm the number of children she has borne. She answers carefully. She has learned that truth, spoken plainly, often invites punishment. The judge does not ask about fathers. Instead, he asks about her behavior, about obedience, about whether she understands her position. Margaret watches his face. She sees not anger, but calculation. In the weeks that follow, whispers move through the quarters. A child sold without notice. Another moved at night. Margaret feels the familiar tightening in her chest, the warning that something is being rearranged around her. Samuel Price begins to hesitate as he copies entries. He notices identical handwriting across decades, the same phrases repeated, the same omissions preserved with care. One night, he finds a folded note slipped between pages. Not a name, just a date, and a location that matches the judge's private residence. Margaret sits alone after dark, fingers pressed into the dirt beneath her palette. She counts quietly, not her children, but the spaces where they should be. The silence where names were never allowed to settle. She wonders if being listed without fathers is a mercy or a sentence, if anonymity protects them or erases them. Above her, the house sleeps. Somewhere inside it, ledgers rest on shelves, heavier than any chain she has worn. She feels watched, even when no one is there. The pressure increases. Judge Hardwick issues an order. Margaret is to be transferred temporarily for her own protection. The language is careful. The meaning is not. Samuel Price copies the order but does not file it. Instead, he slips a copy beneath another ledger, marking the page with a faint crease. The next day, a rival landholder arrives with questions. He has noticed discrepancies. Children born on one property counted on another. Labor numbers that do not align. Hardwick smiles through the meeting. He offers explanations that circle but never land. That night, the clerk's room is searched, papers disturbed, the crease flattened. Someone knows. The intervention comes not as justice, but as containment. Judge Hardwick convenes a closed proceeding. No audience, no record beyond his own notes. He declares that Margaret's ledger are irregular but necessary, that listing fathers would invite disorder and complicate rightful ownership. He rules that all future births will be recorded under a single designation, issue of the estate. No maternal surname, no paternal line. Margaret is present, but not addressed. As the ruling is spoken, she understands something with terrible clarity. The blank spaces were never mistakes. They were shields for him. The intervention comes not as justice, but as containment. The ledger is updated. Cleaner now, more efficient. The page no longer shocks the eye. Margaret is returned to her labor. Children continue to be born. Names continue to vanish. Samuel Price leaves the county within the year. No reason recorded. Judge Hardwick's reputation remains intact. His handwriting fills the margins of history. But sometimes, when the book is opened just right, the old blank spaces can still be seen beneath the ink. Indentations where something once pressed too hard to disappear. If a father's name is never written, does that make the child ownerless or owned by everyone who stayed silent? Was the judge preserving order or protecting himself from the truth his own records revealed? And how many lives were shaped by what was left blank simply because no one was meant to look too closely? For those willing to question the version of history they were given, where else might the ink be hiding what it refuses to say?